to discuss this ongoing royal rift is former royal editor of The Sun, Charlie Ray. Good morning to you, Charlie.
Morning, Julia. Nice to see you
Lovely
again.
to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Look, there's been a lot of discussion of the King's diagnosis, the cancer, and he's been open about it. Again, disappearing from public view. Obviously, a lot of the treatment can be very exhausting and wearing and could take its toll in terms of hair loss and weight loss and the like. So understandable why he had to go public. By all accounts, he made phone calls to his children and his siblings to tell them personally of his news. Harry chose to fly over to London. I think a lot of us were quite surprised that they met for only 30 minutes.
Sorry, Julia, it's astonishing. I mean, this guy, quite rightly, takes an 11-hour flight to come and see his dad, who he's now been told is suffering from some form of cancer. He arrives at Heathrow. He's then driven with a police escort. Remember, Harry's jumping up and down about not getting police protection. He's driven by a police escort to Clarence House, and he spends less than 45 minutes at Clarence House, 30 minutes, we're told, with the King. And the King has already delayed his flight to Sandringham by helicopter to accommodate his son. I mean, I just find it incredible that it was only half an hour that Harry got with his father, and the King is now in Sandringham. He's not due back in London and towards the end, I think towards the end of next week for a business meeting and maybe more treatment at the hospital. And Harry's due to be in Canada next week for the Invictus Games. So this is all a bit strange. And
it is very strange because but palace sources were putting out that the King delayed his trip to Sandringham, but obviously he was on a tight schedule. I'm sorry, if you're getting your own helicopter to your own palace and you're not working because you are being treated for cancer, I don't want to get in the middle of a family feud, but it seems to me you could spend longer with your son after he's flown in, or maybe Harry would have travelled with him. This shows there is a lot more of a rift than many in the media who speculate about this are thinking. And the fact that he's, by all accounts, Prince Harry's not going to be meeting with Prince William. Certainly Prince William's aides have made it very clear there is no intention for those two men to meet up, those two brothers to meet up. And of course, that's because a lot of the accusations made by Harry and Meghan have been directed at Prince William. A lot of the criticism, a lot of the leaked conversations have been involving his wife, nonsense about bridesmaid dresses, for goodness sake. Most people would love to have those sort of problems to be the biggest issue in their lives. But you've attacked my wife, end of, which is what, frankly, a lot of husbands would do in that scenario. But this, you'd have thought, and I think a lot of people who, I think, frankly, have far too much involvement in these family relationships for their own health, thought that this was the moment of a rapprochement, because when there is a family crisis involving health, particularly of an elderly relative, people usually tend to, let bygones be bygones, focus on the important stuff, which is the health of your family member. And yet that doesn't seem to have happened.
I think there's a big difference between a son coming over to see his father who's suffering from cancer and a rapprochement on the things that have been happening for the last 2 or 3 years. This is not just something that's just cropped up. It's not just a small little argument. And you're absolutely right. You and Benedict have discussed this earlier on. All families have arguments at some stage or another. Some are worse than others. And, some families get back together again. One of the things that's annoyed me is a number of people suggesting that this is the start of a rapprochement and everything's going to be fine and all that sort of stuff. They even ludicrously suggested that Harry could help out by doing some of the royal duties. Well, let's not forget that Harry and Meghan were not sacked by the royal family as working royals. They resigned. They decided they didn't want to stay on the royal treadmill, went off to California, did their multi-million-pound deals with Spotify and Netflix and everything else, and want to live a private life. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
No, that is the key thing, isn't it? We've seen, we told you, other royals stepping up. Princess Anne always just gets on with it, does the duty and gets on with it. Edward and Sophie as well, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Still quite get used to that title, I have to say. But a lot of fuss has been made. And again, this is where I do find the sort of the kowtowing and the absurd way that we talk about the royal family is done. About Prince William returning to work. Yes, Princess of Wales has had very serious abdominal surgery and is still recovering. But he's returning to work, stepping up to royal duties. It's his job. He's a full working royal. That's what he does. His wife has staff. Their children are in school all day. With all due respect, I'm so sorry about the royal family going through all of this, but at the end of the day, most families at some point will go through a family cancer diagnosis, family illness, a few crises hitting at the same time. And you know what they have to do? They have to go to work to put food on the table, to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage. They don't have even an option. I do wish we'd have less in this country. I mean, nothing to do with whether you're a monarchist or a Republican, but less gushing about the royals doing what everyone else has to do in their daily lives.
No, you are right, Julia, and I think it was right as well for William to take a step back when Catherine was initially admitted into hospital and when she came back. And as we say, he's now going back to royal duties. But let's be honest about it. He's only got an investiture today at Windsor, and then he's got a dinner tonight for the London Air Ambulance. He hasn't got any other official duties. I'm not counting things that may be happening in private. He hasn't got any other official duties for at least the rest of this week. So if he'd wanted to, he could see Harry, as long as Harry. I mean, I don't know if Harry's still in the country. I don't know if he's flown back. We just don't know where he is. He's now a prince missing in action. It's. I agree with you about the gushing part. It is their job. This is what, in effect, they are paid for. To do these jobs, to support charities,
Charlie,
support good
I'm
causes.
genuinely surprised you're agreeing with me on this, actually, because
No,
you're
I
such a role watcher. You and I have very different views of us. But again, there's been lots of criticism of people sort of pointing this out. And again, I'm really sorry for this family to be going through this. I feel it's awful they have to go through this in public. But most families, sadly, will go through this. What do you make of the criticism that's been meted out on people pointing out that that King Charles is, and it's great that he's getting treatment. It's been found early. Fingers crossed, everything's going to be fine. I wish him the very best, the family the best. But the fact that he's going to get treatment that is far better and far quicker than the average Brit in this country. And the average person in this country, more than 50%, they go to the doctor with a serious issue, the GP suspected cancer, an urgent referral in this country. 50% of the time, you don't see a consultant within 2 months. The reason why more people die of cancer in this country than in France, Germany, Sweden, even most of Eastern Europe, is because you don't get your cancer treatment starting soon enough. King Charles, straight away, because he has money. Most people in this country can't afford to have private cancer treatment. I'm glad that he's able to afford it. I wish him well. But it's fair to point out that most of his subjects would not be getting the same treatment, is it not?
No. Again, I think that's a fair thing to say. But he is the king, and so therefore he has on standby, unlike the rest of us. He's got a team of doctors who cater, as many royals have, for everything. And of course, there is another argument that he's not taking a place in the NHS and robbing someone of an important meeting. So the king is not the only one who has private medical treatment. There's lots of rich people who can do it.
He's entitled to do it.
And he's entitled to do it. But we have to remember that there are, like the rest of us, have got to try and ring our own doctors. We've got to try and arrange all sorts of hospital appointments and everything else. And it's not an easy job to do.
And that's it. I'm grateful. Benedict made this point a bit earlier. Actually, it's not the king's fault. It's not the royal family's fault that people are in that. So that's a decision by politicians, governments over the years. In terms of and the NHS failures of funding and failures of bureaucracy as well. Charlie Ray, really good to talk to you. Fascinated to hear your thoughts on all of that. Still with me, as I say, is Benedict Spence. It's interesting, isn't it, that go back to this rift, though, this family rift. I mean, look, everyone in the country appears to be obsessed with this family rift, but that really weird thing where you've got William and Harry both in London not seeing each other. Charles has flown off to Sandringham. Harry's kind of left in the country. Are there plans for him to meet the king again? If there were, you'd think the palace would probably have said that by now? Probably,
and he probably would have gone to Norfolk with him, actually. What if he's just sort of, kicking his heels in London, actually he's not achieving anything, so he could have gone with the collective as they would move up to the estate. So I think
suggests the relationship is still very strained.
Yeah, I think that this has probably just been a teething, how are you doing kind of thing, and let's see if we can be in the same room for half an hour kind of situation.
We've all had those family relationships, have we not?
Days ending in Y, yes.
Exactly. They're no different to us. They're no different to us, indeed. Yeah, exactly.